What's up, everyone? It's your boy Shaft, aka That Mill Guy, here to not hold anything back, simply to talk about how I hit Mythic with Bruvac combo. That's right, Mill is able to make the top tiers of Arena, and I think my next goal is to hit that top tier percentage of Mythic. I mean, right now, I place Mythic, I'm at 91% of Mythic, or whatever the hell that means. So maybe next season we will work our way up. So what I wanted to take this video to do was talk about some of the card choices, how I got there, talk about some deck stats, and really some thoughts moving forward. If you wanted to catch the games of those going forward, actually, so I know Twitch holds those videos for only 30 days, so if you wanted to go to my Twitch and check those out, that's fine. But I'm actually going to link the unlisted VOD to that stream down below in the description. So if you wanted to catch all 2 hours, so it's essentially me going from Plat 1 all the way to Mythic. So obviously 2 hours I have lost a couple of times, but we ended up getting there. We ended up getting from Plat 1 to Mythic after a couple of losses, and that last game, that was great. That was great and relaxing, and we ended up hitting Mythic with the Bruvac Maddening Cacophony combo, so that was really sweet. Check that out in the description below. But let's just kind of hop right into it here with the VOD. So hopping into the untapped.gg stats, just kind of showing you how I've been doing this. So untapped.gg, for those of you wondering, a great companion app for MTG Arena. And if you really wanted to take the Arena kind of app, the program itself, really seriously and kind of grind up into Mythic, especially when you're looking at deck percentages, I highly recommend this. A lot of their statistics and stuff and the deeper meta analysis, you do have to pay for those services, but again, if you wanted to take this seriously, highly recommend this, giving you all these breakdowns. So in total, ignoring kind of this statistic down here because it takes into account some of the decks I was playing at the beginning, but really what we're looking at is the Bruvac combo list that I was playing. 63% win rate, 62 and 37, almost 100 games played. About 25 plus hours of total time played running around through Mythic rank. Look at this, all the way up a casual trend. Now, again, obviously lots of dips, lots of rises, especially here in Plat 1. You can see where we were in Plat. Lots of up and downs. This one we were hanging around for a while, so the competition gets a little stiff. Sometimes you need to get a little bit lucky and you get there. But that's what stats like this show. So I just wanted to show this off. This is where we're at in terms of the total chart, and I probably won't be playing anymore for the rest of the season, but next season we'll get to that. For now, the thing I want to talk about is really the deck list itself. So again, taking advantage of the Bruvac Maddening Cacophony combo, kind of a concept that I took off from some of the Pioneer videos I was doing early last year when the format was a lot bigger, I guess, and just going through some of the combos that we could present to ourselves in the format. Just because Mill was a little bit weaker, we don't have access to cards like Hedron Crab and Archive Trap and Visions of Beyond. Just these payoffs, especially Crypt Incursion, being very we're lacking that. Considering the amount of aggro decks in the format, Crypt Incursion would actually be an insane payoff. It might actually be a little bit too powerful for the black decks, but we'll see. So I want to go through each some individual card choices that I think are actually really powerful and need to be highlighted, and then we can kind of go into moving forward, what's next for me in the next season, and how I wanted to evolve the Arena content on the channel. So kind of going through this list right here, the first card, obviously Bruvac, the star of the deck, not only working with the Maddening Cacophony sorcery itself, but also with stuff like Ashiok Dreamrender. So 3 mana for a 1/4. The one power does matter, and the 4 body matters a lot. You get to block a lot with this card, and I think the biggest thing with this card is it's not Fraying Sanity, right? So Fraying Sanity's wording is if a card would enter an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, they would like double that amount. But this is specifically relating to if an opponent would mill. So for example, someone casting a spell and putting that card in their graveyard, that's a card entering the graveyard. Fraying Sanity would catch that, mill over a card. Bruvac would not count that. You would have to mill over cards with things like Maddening Cacophony, Ruin Crab, things like that. But all in all, the biggest downside to this is honestly the fact that it's a creature. The Fraying Sanity combo would, if Fraying Sanity was legal in Historic, I actually think this deck would be almost like a pretty much a tier 1, just a stalwart of the format. It would be something that the deck, like everyone would have to play around, just because not being a creature means there is a lot less interaction for this. There is a lot of times where damage-based removal or cards like Fatal Push were able to get rid of this card, and it was problematic for me. You just have to play around it. But if Fraying Sandy was there as an enchantment, let me tell you, this format would have a lot harder. You'd see a lot more shuffle effects in the format. I only ran against shuffle effects like literally once or twice. And that's through my whole climb. So that's really it. That's the caveat right there. Legendary Human Advisor. Maddening Cacophony being the other half of that. There are moments where you actually will just throw out the 2 copies that you have. I actually have one with just casting these cards and milling my opponent out, or just getting them to so low where they realize that they're going to lose the game just because they've drawn so many cards and stuff like that. So that is very relevant. I have kicked the card without Bruvac out. So just remember that there are always niche cases, and you want to play to your outs. If there's cards in your opponent's battlefield that are actually just drawing them cards, you may want to just wall back these cards and just hold on to the point where they get low enough. You throw this out, couple Ashiok triggers, they're at 0 cards in library. You don't even need the combo to get there. So that's definitely something to remember there. Also, remembering that this is each opponent. Leyline of Sanctity is not a common card in Arena, but if you see your opponent bring in Leyline of Sanctity against you, probably one in terms of just pure card advantage. Archmage's Charm is a card that I've had people ask me about the rare wild cards and if this is really necessary. This is probably one of the best cards that control or blue decks have access to on in historic, on Arena in general. This is the Archmage. This is the cryptic command of the format. I don't know how many times I need to say this. Counter target spell, draw 2 cards, gain control of target non-land permanent. That's 1 or less. I've used all 3 of these modes endlessly, all 3. In the VOD that you can watch in the link down below, I won a Death Shadow match at like 5 life, 3 life or whatever, because I stole my opponent's Death Shadow twice, created some favorable blocks, removed some creatures, and actually swung in for lethal with the Death Shadow. Yeah, so that stealing 1, massive. There's a lot of times where you're gonna cast Yahenni's Expertise, wipe the board, Archmage's Charm yourself to draw 2 more cards, and just make up everything that you just did there. And of course, the counter target spell. The mana is going to be the toughest aspect about this. You really want to try and work towards this on turn 1s and 2s. Sometimes you won't get there. You'll actually just only have blue, black or something like that. So unfortunately, your other counter spells will have to work in that aspect. But hopefully by turn 4, you can get that 3rd blue pip and get something like this on. That's going to be the toughest part with this. Yahenni's Expertise is... I was really hesitant on this card. I was actually playing Languishes and Bantu's Last Reckoning. But first of all, not killing your Bruvac, massive. A lot of times when you're playing the long game, not killing your bigger Shark Typhoons, massive. So thinking of something like Bantu's Last Reckoning. Being then able to cast a card for free off of that, massive tempo. You wipe the board, play a Bruvac. Wipe the board, play a Narset. Wipe the board, play an Ashiok, exile all cards that you just wiped out. I don't need to speak on this anymore. This card is slam dunk and should be the main board wipe that you have. So definitely make sure you're playing this, considering the amount of 3 CMC stuff or less in the deck. And I don't know why I have a random Scryfall screen up. But what's next for me in terms of this list specifically, and what am I going to do going into the November season? So obviously we have the idea that the new set is about to come out. There's going to be one more season Arena before that comes out. And so how did I want to approach Mill going into this next season? Well, I got to get aggressive. So what I mean by this is, now that I've proven to you all that while Mill can make it to Mythic, that there is a deck out there that wins with Mill and can get there, I don't need to prove it anymore, okay? Look, you saw the stats, 25 plus hours of playing, 100 games just to get from bronze all the way to Mythic. It's a long grind. So I'm going to probably queue up a aggro deck, get to Mythic, and once I get to Mythic, it's a whole new world because you can't leave Mythic. Once you get to Mythic, you can't leave Mythic. So the meta is completely different, right? Like, people are playing a lot more crazy brews, so I want to get some brews out there. I want to see some of the different things that Mill can do with the cards available to us. First and foremost, I'm thinking of cards like Teferi's Tutelage, right? Cards that take advantage of you drawing a lot of cards. Blue decks love to draw cards, so is there a counter draw based strategy that can use creatures as an alternative win condition if needed, but can also just draw through financiers, and then passively mill your opponent over with something like Teferi's Tutelage, and obviously with a plethora of other support cards. So that's something I want to explore once I get to Mythic. And then of course, honestly, the Tasha's Hideous Laughter. This has to be explored. This is a modern staple. This is one of the most powerful cards in current modern MTG right now, so why wouldn't I try and test this out in Historic? There are some friends of the channel, I'm talking about Mortal in the Mill Discord, that have been messing around with some Sultai builds of Mill right now, and I would like to take those first spins. Sultai, a lot of the times the black and the green are there for the answers and a little bit of life gain, and the blue and black just carry the mill aspect. So I want to see what this card does. I don't think that it's particularly strong in Historic, just because the games tend to be a little bit grindier. The average CMC of decks tend to be a little bit higher. Even the aggro strategies, such as Gruul aggro, mono red, whatever, they are playing 3 drops. They are playing 4 drops sometimes. So again, CMC is a little bit higher, but the exile effect can be relevant, especially against some sacrifice graveyard-based strategies. So something like that can come up when you're milling your opponent over incidentally. The graveyard hate isn't as powerful, I would say, the supplemental effects that you get, and I honestly think a card like Crypt Incursion would solve that in Historic, but we'll see what happens if we ever manage to get that. But that's Tasha's. Ending things off, I'm happy that I finally got Mythic there. This is the first time I've ever gotten Mythic, and I think I should just put a disclaimer out there. It's not necessarily, I would say, hard to get Mythic if you think about it to, kind of down to the core there. If you have a positive win rate, kind of 55, if you have a 51% win rate, you will mathematically get there, right? You will get there to Mythic. The problem is how many hours do you have? And that's really what Mythic has always been. And that's not to detract from anyone's achievements. I mean, hey, like, this is the first time I'm reaching Mythic. I got pretty hype about it. You'll see in the VOD. But something like this is very achievable for everyone. So just play some clean Magic. Make sure you have a strong deck that follows a lot of strong principles, whether that be aggro, whether that be control, whether that be mid-range. So something like a deck like this, I took a lot of aspects from Dimir Control, a style of strategy that not only that I liked because of the spells that it had access to, but also, I mean, a lot of the cards I had access to thanks to the wild cards. But it was something where I could easily fit in a get out of jail free card. And that's what this is ultimately, right? That's one of the reasons that Control does struggle in this format, is because a lot of times it has to grind out with these strategies. And in the top deck game, usually the aggro deck wins. There's going to be a point where you draw a land because you have more lands and your opponent just sticks a 3/3 haster and they're just swinging in and beating you up. So that's the thing with a combo deck like this, a Control combo deck, where, again, as I've said, repeated, having a get out of jail free card is so good. There are times where I've just played Bruvac. You'll see this in the VOD. I've told my opponent, you have it or you don't, and then I just Maddening Cacophony, get out of there, because I see myself in this top deck game. I'm not going to win that. Having this out is massive. Having not only to dig for answers, but actually to be able to dig for a win condition is a massive bonus. So I really recommend trying this list out and seeing where you can take this. But for now, I think I'll end it there. Check me out for more Arena content coming soon, but I think I'll be shifting the channel back a little bit to a more modern. I've been taking a break from that just because of the success I've been having on Arena. But let me know if you want to see more Arena content coming in the future and what you want to see. Give me some of your mill brews, and I'm be happy to throw those out and stream them. But other than that, remember that the VOD for the stream in which I hit Mythic, down in the description box below. Remember that even the impossible is possible, and as we ponder that thought, I hope you'll join me next time as we take a glimpse into the unthinkable.